So we know that early voting records have been shattered across the country as more Americans decided that they would not wait for November 8th. They'd go when it's convenient for them. We see voters in Ohio, Florida, Georgia, Maryland, all hitting the polls early. More than 42.5 million voters have already cast their ballot. Many Florida counties reporting higher than expected turnout ahead of Election Day. And with the presidential race too close to call in Florida, looking at the early vote could be key. Michael McDonald is an associate professor at the University of Florida, and he joins us now. Michael, good to see you. Welcome back.
Great to be with you, Martha.
So what are we learning from this early voting? What's the trend out there, if there is one?
Well, we're seeing record numbers of people voting early in state after state. So far, we've got about half the country that has already surpassed their 2012 numbers. And there will be more states that join that list shortly. That said, there are some pockets of actually lower early vote turnout, primarily in the Midwest, like places like Iowa and Ohio, which curtailed some of the early voting possibilities in that state. So it's not uniform across the country that we're seeing early voting, but most places we are seeing early voting up.
All right, so if you talk to each camp, which I have, they'll tell you why the early voting picture is better for them than it is for the other side. What's the truth?
You're kidding me that the parties spin the numbers.
I know,
well,
that's a big shock.
Yeah, so look, right now, you just had that segment lead in about Hispanics. Hispanics are up a lot in Florida. They are up 89% over their 2012 numbers, early voting in Florida. And places like Florida and some other places in the South actually have race on their voter files, so we can look at the racial and ethnic composition of the early vote. If that's what is happening in Florida, we're seeing these really engaged Hispanics there. It's probably true that we're seeing engagement for Hispanics in other states like Arizona and in particular Nevada. Nevada looks very good for the Clinton campaign from the perspective of the early vote. The vote looks very similar to 2012. That's a year that Obama won by about 6 percentage points. So it looks as though Nevada may be in Clinton's column. Colorado's another state. The Trump campaign believes it too, to be in Clinton's column. And if we start adding these states together, Nevada, Colorado, I think also Virginia, then you're looking at a map where Donald Trump has to run every battleground state, and he has to pick up a blue-leaning state in order to win the Electoral College.
I mean, that certainly looks like the picture that we're seeing. So you have to win every toss-up, so everybody can watch those toss-up states at home, North Carolina, Florida, and then also flip either Minnesota or Michigan or Nevada, which the Trump campaign says that they feel pretty good about. Let's talk about this Hispanic vote and put the numbers up and show everybody at home. Up 86.9%. That's a whopping number.
It is incredible, and so that's primarily coming from Hispanic growth in Central Florida, where we've seen an immigration of Puerto Ricans who are U.S. citizens moving to Central Florida, and so the numbers are up in South Florida, but there's this really growing enclave of Hispanics in Central Florida that are driving those numbers.
Yeah, but I guess one of the questions, let's put up this full screen from Lindsey Graham and show it to everybody at home. He says the story of this election may be the mobilization of the Hispanic vote. So Trump deserves the award for Hispanic turnout. He did get more of them out than any Democrat has ever done. But my question is, you have the Cuban population in Florida as well, and not all Hispanics will vote Democratic, but usually they mostly do. Is there any reason to think we might see something different this time?
There are some polls that suggest that the Cuban-American population in South Florida will not support Trump and that they will support Marco Rubio, however, of course, but they will not support Trump. And so it could be that there's a shift in the presidential election. And those Puerto Ricans, by the way, the analyses that I've done and others, they support Democratic candidates on the level of African Americans, and so that growing population in Central Florida is very significant. One other thing about Hispanic turnout, in past elections, they've had turnout rates about 20 percentage points lower than whites and African Americans. So even if they can cut that in half, that could dramatically change the Electoral College map.
Yeah. They are absolutely a growing force in the electorate in the United States and painting a new picture of the demographics of the country, and it may very well be the big story when we talk about all of this when it's said and done. Michael McDonald, which hopefully will be Wednesday. Do you think it's going to be Wednesday?
I sure hope. There are some scenarios, though, where I could spin out if you wanted to hear them about how we could go into overtime, but let's hope that we're not there.
Give me a brief, quick one.
Oh, well, so in Ohio, there are going to be roughly 200,000 or so ballots that will be set aside to be counted after Election Day, and there are various reasons why under law that those ballots would be set aside. And unfortunately, I think if Trump is winning just by a slight margin in Ohio, the media would not call the election. They would wait because those ballots could break towards Clinton.
Okay.
If Ohio's decisive,
right.
we could be in for a real nasty overtime.
So one thing to watch in Ohio. Michael, thank you. Great to see you.
You're welcome.